if you are watching this video, then most likely you want to make money online, but you don't think that you have the skills, or else you wouldn't have clicked on this title. But rest assured, because when I first started my journey as an educational creator, I didn't have the right skills either. Like, I was kind of a degenerate. I didn't really try my best in school ever, and I'm not proud of that. You know, a lot of people, they are saying with like a sense of pride. I'm really not. And like, I've played like a bunch of video games. Yeah, I was good at playing video games, but like that was it. So I have managed to make it work, even without skills, even without an offer, even without a good mindset. And in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you a 3-step system so that you can start monetizing online as well without even needing skills. And this is kind of what we do. Step number one is set a goal. Because how can you end up at your desired destination if you don't even know where you're going? So setting a goal is absolutely essential, but you don't have to like set a goal and then basically mindlessly. Like, there is a strategy behind it, and that strategy I will explain to you right now. So basically, what you have to understand is that you have 3 goals in life, and this is the same for like everyone. 3 major topics, and number one is basically like the wealth. Number 2 is the health. And number 3 is the relationships. And when you set a goal, make sure it is at one of these 3 things. Because, like I said, this is not only true for you, this is not only true for me, but this is true for like everyone. You know, everyone has these 3 goals. If you pick a niche or you do something like that, and if your thing that you're offering or the thing that you want to do has anything to do in relation with either wealth or health or relationships, then you are fine, then you are good. But when setting a goal, it is important to make sure that it's not like a goal of like, oh yeah, I want to become successful, because it needs to have like it has a certain few requirements. And I've learned this framework that I'm going to tell you right now. I've learned that when I was studying as a PE teacher. And there was a way of setting goals that is very effective, and that is the SMART framework. So that is the SMART. The SMART framework. The S stands for specific. Is your goal, is it specific or is it like very vague? Because if you're going to say like, oh yeah, my goal is to become successful, what does that mean? Like, what does success mean to you? Like, that can mean like a lot of different things. Specific basically means like having a clear metric of success. If you have a wealth goal, for example, and I wouldn't pick 3 goals at once, because you can only focus on one in order to make like massive amounts of progress in that one thing. So for wealth, it's the most easiest. Just pick a number. Pick a number of monthly revenue, for example, or like you can make it a yearly goal, for example. But this is like the easiest. For health, it can be losing this many pounds or reaching this amount of body weight, or like getting a six-pack. Even that is like specific, because you can really see there is a clear metric of success. For relationships, it could be, for example, like getting a partner. You know, that is the most easiest thing. Like, do you have a partner? Yes or no? It's a very clear, it's really clear. It's like very specific. That also ties into the second, which is measurable. So measurable is like, is there like a clear metric of success? Like here it's basically the amount of money that you have. In the health is like, do you have a six-pack? Yes or no? Or like how much weight did you lose, or how much weight did you gain? And the relationship is like, do you have a partner? Yes or no? Or like amount of dates that you've been doing, for example. So make sure there is like a clear metric of success, because then you know like when you have achieved that goal. The A stands for achievable. Achievable. So is the goal, it has to be kind of like ambitious, but still it has to be realistic. Because if you're going to pick something that is too difficult, then you will face like a lot of anxiety. If you pick something that is too easy, then you will basically become bored. And this is the principle of flow. I have that book somewhere there, but I'm not going to pick it right now. But there is a visual that might really help you. It's basically this. So here is basically the, what was it? I think it's the skill. And this is the challenge. So you have to make sure that the challenge is, or that your skill level is perfectly fit for the challenge that you're going to take. Because this is what happens. Here, if the challenge is too high for your skill level, then everything here basically will become anxiety. You know, because the challenge is too high for the skill level that you're in. If basically your skill is, the challenge is too low for your skill level, then you will become bored. If you are somewhere in the in-between state, that is the flow state. Or the flow zone, basically. So when setting a goal, it needs to be achievable, but it also has to be like realistic. So make sure that you're in the flow zone. The R is for relevant. And this basically means, is the goal that you've set, does that match your motivation? Like when picking a goal, make sure that it is the goal that you want to achieve the most. Like, what is your number one priority? What would change your life the most? Would it be a relationship? Would it become being in better health? Or would it become basically optimizing your wealth? And for me, it was the wealth. Because I was thinking, like, if I just solve my money problem, then 98% of my problems will be solved. So make sure that the goal that you're picking is also like relevant. And the T is for time bound. Have like a certain time, because if you don't have a time, then most likely you will procrastinate. because this was what was happening in school with me all of the time. Like, if you don't have a clear deadline, a clear end date, then you are just waiting. But if there is like a clear end date, then you basically take a lot of action, because you have to just finish it at the time. But make sure that it's not too soon, because if you have like the time that is way too optimistic, for example, then that will just lead to like disappointment. So again, make sure it's not too short, but also like not too long, so that it like challenges you. For example, it takes most people from, like, you can basically use this once you are like a complete beginner and you haven't like posted anything, you haven't take action towards anything, then most likely it will take about a year for you to see any progress, to see like any results of pretty hard work. And it takes about 1 to 3 years in order to get your first 10k month. So once setting like a goal of like, I want to hit 10k month, 10k per month, and if you have this knowledge of like, okay, it takes approximately like 1 to 3 years, don't set a goal in like 6 months, but also don't do it in 5 years. I think 1 year would be a pretty good sweet spot. I got a little bit of tea with my sip of tea. So make sure that whatever your goal is, that you are going to make sure that all of these principles apply. So once you are clear on your goal, and it is a smart goal, then basically the next thing is to find out what the biggest bottleneck is. Like, what is your biggest bottleneck, your biggest challenge? Because like, what is a bottleneck? You know, like if you have a bottle, I will put the bottle on its side so that's like easier. If you have a bottle, and then here, this is like the bottleneck, you know. And in business, like for example, if here goes like the potential, or like anything, like this is maybe like energy, then all of these things will try to go in like this direction. But if there is a bottleneck, then there is something like holding back all of the potential, all of the potence that you have here, and only like a little bit will go through. Now, if you solve this bottleneck, so if you basically like remove it, and you solve the bottleneck, then there will be a lot of energy potential that can flow through the entire pipeline. And there could be like different bottlenecks. For example, as you probably already noticed, I like to split things down in sets of 3, because all of these 3 things you can break down into like 3 different things. For example, the wealth, you can break it down into one, attract, convert, and deliver. This is the first principle of business. You know, everything, if you just optimize all of these things, then you can make sure that you will have a ton of wealth. For health, for example, it is body, mind, and spirit. You know, if you want to optimize your health, like, what do you think needs the most amount of work? Like your body, like exercise, physical things. your mind. Maybe you need to work on your mental health by reading books, by meditating, stuff like that. Or like spirit, also like meditating and practicing things like semen retention, for example. You know, for relationships, it is friends, family, and partner. So when you're trying to optimize like one of these 3 core areas of your life, make sure that you figure out what the biggest bottleneck is. Like, what is the least optimized of one of these 3 things, like no matter if your goal is wealth, health, and relationships. And like the easiest way to do that, this will be like a longest video if I'm going to talk about all of these things. Let's just pick the wealth, for example, because I assume that most of you are trying to monetize, trying to build a business, because that was like literally in the title. So I would assume that is the case. Like, what they are saying is really true. You are only as strong as your weakest link. Like, even if you go for one goal, for your wealth goal, for example, you cannot neglect your health and your relationships at all. Because if you're going to neglect your health and your relationships, then it wouldn't be sustainable. Then you are like burn out. Like, for me, it is sustainable, but I am pushing it. Basically 80% of my time and focus goes towards my wealth goal, because I want to hit 100k per month. 10% goes to my relationships, and 10% goes to my health, basically to like maintain it. But you cannot do like any less, because I've tried that. I've tried to go all in one specific thing in my business and like completely neglect my health and my relationships. It wasn't sustainable for longer than 30 days. And after 30 days, I was just burning out, and then basically I had to start all over again. So always make sure there is like a right balance. You are only as strong as your weakest link. And this principle applies in all of these core areas as well. For example, the wealth goal. I basically mentioned 3 things. Attract, convert, and deliver. If you are trying to make money, then you need to figure out like how to optimize all of these 3 things. Basically what it means is attract. You have to attract leads. You have to attract people to your brand or something like that. Like no matter what you do, whether that is like drop shipping, whether that is coaching, consulting, like you need to make sure you get leads. How do you do that? Well, you can take the short-term approach of just networking with people. I think that is the most effective for beginners, but you can also look at things like paid advertisement or making content, for example. But networking is the most effective way, and it's the one with the lowest risk. So that means that you lose nothing by doing that. Like you can only gain stuff. And networking is incredibly high leverage, because you will get way more opportunities. You will learn a whole bunch, and yeah, you will get a ton of leads from it. Convert is once you have those leads, are you able to convert them into paying customers? Are you actually able to make like an attractive offer for them? And are you able to hop on a call with them? And are you able to make them buy something that they think is valuable enough so that they will actually pay you money for that? That is convert. to basically turn those leads into paying customers. Deliver is basically, can you deliver on your promise? But more preferably over deliver, because if you over deliver, you know, that is how you get the good word of mouth effect, and that is how you will see these exponential results over time. So when it comes to business and when it comes to offering anything, it's about like looking at what is the biggest bottleneck, what is the least optimized when it comes to your business. And now you might be probably watching this and you will say, well, I don't have a business. But yes, you are almost there. Like, no, actually, like, if you don't have earned any money yet and you don't have a business, but you are close. And let me tell you how close you are, because this is how you can figure out like the bottleneck. If you want to make money, then you need to make sure that these three are optimized. And these are the only things that you need to optimize. That is the first principle thinking. Like, what exactly do you need in order to build a functioning rocket? Nothing more, nothing less. It always comes down to these three principles. If you have these three principles optimized, you can get your first paying client, you can scale to 10K per month, you can even scale to 1 million per month. It always comes down to these three first principles. Now, and when you're trying to make money, you have to optimize them. So let's just make a graph, for example. And this is like the total. If you want to make money, and then you can think like, okay, so if you have to rate yourself, maybe on a scale of like 1 to 10, and see how optimized these things are. Most likely, and now you might be thinking, oh, but nothing is optimized. But I think that for most people watching this, if you are like a complete beginner, then your attract might actually be the most optimized, because what is a lead in essence? A lead is somebody who you can contact. So if you just walk on the street and you speak to somebody, like, that is a lead. If you have been active on social media for a while, then those are leads. Like, humans are social creatures after all. So we automatically network and automatically talk and connect with other people. Now, you might not consider these people as, hey, they might become potential clients, but why not? You know, maybe they have a bottleneck which you're able to solve. So maybe the lead and the attraction is the most optimized. That is like a 3. Then I think that a lot of you, they think now, oh yeah, maybe I don't have an offer, I don't have like valuable skills. But if you look really critically at your journey, like, there will most likely, there are going to be problems that you will have solved for yourself. So, and these problems are basically ways for you to deliver, because money, all that money is a value exchange. And the way that you create value is by alleviating pain. Like, most people, they pay stuff to alleviate their pain. You know, if you're hungry and you order some food and you pay money for that, then that will give you value, because after you've ate that thing, the pain will be alleviated. And pain is alleviated when problems are solved. So if you have solved some problems for yourself, then your delivery might be like a 2. But if you haven't made any money yet, your total is still at 0, then most likely, or like actually like 100% sure, your conversion isn't optimized. Because how it goes is basically you can multiply all of these things. 3 times 0 is 0, times 2 is still 0. You know, most people then will think, oh, like, I want to make like a ton of money. Now, and then they are going to think, oh, I have to optimize my attraction, so I want to start like a YouTube channel. But even if you change this from a 3 to like a 5, for example, but this stays a 0, this stays a 2, then this will still be a 0. 5 times 0 is 0 times 2 is still 0. But instead, if you're just going to keep this the same, so the attract is a 3, because you have leads already, then you only change convert to a 1, and this stays a 2, then 3 times 1 is 3 times 2 is 6. So here you will start making money. And then after this, what do you have to change? You know, many people will think, oh, maybe I will change my delivery. Then you will 3 times 1 times 3 is 9, basically, if you change this. So by increasing this with 1 point, you will earn 3 more points. But instead, if you are optimizing this into a 2, because the lowest is the biggest bottleneck. So if this is a 3, then that will be a 2, that will be 6, divided by 2, that will be 12. So instead, like if you change this to a 3, you will earn 3 more points, money points, total points. If you will increase this with 1 point, you will earn 6. That is like double. So always look at the biggest bottleneck. So once you have figured out what your biggest bottleneck is in achieving that goal, then the next thing comes. So once you are clear, okay, you know, maybe conversion is my biggest bottleneck, then how could that be a bottleneck? Like, what is the reason that is a bottleneck? And maybe that might be a technical one. Maybe it might be something like, I don't know what to tell people to hop on a call, for example. Or something like that might be, I don't know how like the sales process works, or like to say something. So then you can figure out like the reason that I have this bottleneck, is that technical problem, or is that a personal problem? And the technical problem is relatively easy to fix, because everything is just you are able to find that on the internet. And because, for example, in my community, I explain in the free course that is in the community, I explain how to solve the whole conversion bottleneck. Like I explain like the entire funnel. And by the way, if you're interested in that, like you can click the link in the description and you have access to this free course. But the point that I'm trying to make is, like, internet, like the knowledge and information is almost free, like everywhere. So technical problems are relatively easy to fix. Like my offer, it is business related. Like I help people to build their business, to help people to like get more clients. But about 10% I'm actually helping people with the technical things. 90% it's more personal bottlenecks, you know, because these are very, very difficult to fix. When I first started on my journey, I had a lot of personal problems. And this is how you have to see it, because this is like you. And you want to achieve your goal. I keep getting better and better at like drawing the star, you think? If you want to achieve your goal, then it isn't like a clear path. Like there are many different things that could like hinder you, because you might figure out like what the right path is for you. the right path, like how to go it, because that is also like important, like because yeah, like maybe you can get there in one straight line, but what do you have to do for that straight line? Maybe a lot of cold calls, maybe a lot of cold DMs. I don't like stuff like that, and I can imagine that a lot of other people, maybe you watching this, also don't like to do it like kind of like that. Because you maybe want to do it like me, to do it like in an ethical way that will align with your principles. But on your way to your goal, there will be a lot of different problems. For example, there might be a lot of obstacles, like a road, like a big rock in the road. There might be like a river here, like some challenges that you don't know how to get around, and there might be like rain, like a lot of discomfort. And so when you're trying to reach your goal, there are many different problems, bottleneck, challenges, discomfort, etc., mainly personal problems that you have to overcome in order to get to where you want to be. But that isn't a bad thing, because when I was going towards my goal, my biggest problem was my inability to focus. I couldn't stay focused. Like I saw a lot of other shiny objects. I wanted to basically give in to cheap dopamine, to stimulation and stuff like that. So yeah, like when I was walking towards my goal, I saw here like a shiny object, and I was like, oh, let's go this way. Or and then I was thinking like from this part, like, oh, let's go that way. And then I thought like, okay, nope, I need to go back to here. But then I was like, oh, here, let's go that way. You know, so focus was the first problem that I needed to solve for myself. And it took me a while. Like in the first 9 months, I was not able to stay consistent because my inability to focus. So basically, once I identified that, like my bottleneck wasn't technical anymore. Like I knew what I had to do, but the problem basically for me was an internal one, like a personal one. That was my inability to focus. So once you are clear on whatever the bottleneck is, whether that is a technical one or whether that is a personal one, you have to make it your mission to solve it. Like literally try anything. Like this should be your main priority. Your number one focus is to do everything in your power to solve this bottleneck. Whether that is reading books about it, whether that is learning from mentors, whether that is to practice it like every single day. Because what will start to happen is if you like solve these problems one by one, because let me just draw this new one. You're here, this is your goal, and once you're trying to achieve your goal, there will be many different problems that you will solve along the way, and every time you will solve a new problem. The good thing is, once you have solved this problem, then you can make something valuable to offer. Because remember what I just said about like the delivery. Like how is value, like how can you earn money? Because money is like a value exchange. How do we create value? It's by alleviating pain. How do we alleviate pain? By solving problems. So if you can just solve your number one bottleneck, your biggest problem, and then you are just making content about it, about how you've done the same thing, and you're networking with people and you say how you've solved your problems, or maybe when they mention that they have a problem which you've solved for yourself, then you can make them an offer. And then you can think like, okay, how much time, energy and money did it cost me in order to solve this problem for myself? And maybe it will be like $500 because you invest in mentorship, maybe even like 1,000, you know, and maybe you've spent like 50 hours researching everything. and you spend a lot of energy on it as well. Well, if you can help somebody in like a month, for example, that is 4 weekly calls, they spend 4 hours on it and maybe $200, then that would be an absolute no-brainer for them to say yes to, because like it would save them so much time, so much energy, and so much money in order to get your help from it, because you've tried everything. And this is also such an important thing, because what were the my two biggest problems that I faced? It was my inability to focus and being able to get my first paying client. And those are exactly the two things that I now can help people with, because there is like a skill, and the skill like goes like this. This is maybe like let's say a 1, and this is like a 10. And what I mean with 10 is the more that you struggle with it, and less if you didn't really struggle with it at all. If there is one certain problem, and for example, you might be facing like a very, very difficult problem right now for yourself. And if you really, really struggle with the problem, like you might be, why am I like this? Why can't I just be like other people who struggles less with that? But this is actually like a blessing. This is actually such a good thing, because the more you struggle with it, the more you are able to teach it to other people. You know, you can like the most influential, the most the greatest teachers, they are the ones who struggled with that thing the most. So let's say, for example, you struggle like here. You struggle with the problem a lot. That is like an 8. Every person that you meet that struggles less than you can help them, because you've tried everything in the book in order to solve this problem for yourself. But the people who struggle more than you, like there might be like some bottlenecks that you don't know how to get around. So these people you cannot really help. But everybody that struggled less than you're able to help them. So if you struggle really bad with a problem, with a bottleneck that you don't know how to get around, then good. Make it your mission to solve it, how difficult it is, because the more difficult, the more you struggle with the problem, the more you are able to teach it. And this shifts your perspective like crazy, because then you will feel like, okay, so a problem doesn't really have to be like a bad thing. It can be like your biggest blessing, because it was only the reason why. It was only because I struggled with focus and with monetizing online and building my business so much that I'm able to help so many different people with it. So yeah, at first I might thought that it was, I might have really negative thoughts about it, but now looking back at it, like it was probably the best thing that I could have happened. So if you struggle a lot with a problem, good. Make it so, basically quick recap, to make it like clear. First, set a goal. Make sure it's a clear goal, smart, what we just talked about. Then figure out what your number one problem is. Once you figured it out, then basically make it your mission to solve that problem. And once you have solved it, then you can turn it into an online income. So you don't need to have any valuable skills. You don't need to even have the right mindset. You can just start right now by setting a goal, fixing the number one problem, identifying it, and then making a mission to solve it. And that is going to be your offer. So yeah, I hope this makes sense. And if you have any questions, then let me know in the comments. I would love to answer them, and then see you in the next one.